chat, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today with Jorge Soriano and Dr. Shawna Hayes. And so today we are going to be talking about financial and spiritual health. And I am going to be your moderator today. My name is Erica Daly. I am current chair of the USF Black Alumni Society and also a business owner. And what I do is help small businesses strategize in order for them to step up and grow. But without further ado, we're going to discuss our panelists. Dr. Shawna Hayes is an academic operations officer, theology and Christian education professor, youth coordinator, and lead chaplain. She's also an author of Family Worship, Reaching All Who Attend, Financial Wisdom for Financial Freedom, and Not Just Paper. She holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology and a master's degree in the same subject from the University of Miami in Florida. She has a bachelor's of arts degree, master's of arts, and PhD in theology from Life Christian University. And most recently has a Christian counseling degree from Grace and Truth Christian University. Welcome, Dr. Shawna.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Next, we have Jorge Soriano. He was born and raised in Cuba. Jorge moved to Tampa, Florida in 1998. He's a proud graduate of the University of South Florida. Jorge is a certified financial planner, practitioner, and also holds an IRS enrolled agent designation. With nearly 10 years of experience in financial services, in this financial services industry, he is dedicated to educating individuals on topics such as personal finance, self-improvement, and the importance of financial literacy. Jorge enjoys traveling, supporting the local arts, and a well-balanced, healthy lifestyle with his family. So welcome, Jorge. Thank you so much for joining our panel today.
Well, thank you so much for that. I just want to say I really love the R. That's very important, the way you pronounced it. Very, very good.
Soriano?
Yeah, very good.
Worked on that. One of the things that I wanted to say, like as we talked about at the very first series, we wanted to impart like four things. Our goal for this series, as well as this particular panel, is we want to impart information. We want the information to be bite-sized so it can be digested. We want to empower you with information so you can change your life. And we wanted to provide you with information that you can take away. And so we're going to be mailing out, if you're registered with us, we're going to be mailing out from both Dr. Shawna as well as Jorge, the information that they're going to be sharing with us, as well as the other things throughout. So one of the quotes I wanted to start off with our discussion today is like, where you sit when you are old shows where you stood in your youth. So if you want a different financial outcome, where you stand today is what you're going to have to do. So we're going to jump right on in with finances. And what is which is the one piece of practical advice you would give someone starting out?
Dr. Shawna, do you want to take that first?
I thought you were going to, so I was waiting, but okay. A person starting out, and I get a chance to speak to a lot of the youth as well as those that are coming out of high school going into college. And it's important. What I found is many people are not given the information at home. We're not training our children. This is an excellent time while we're at home now during COVID. Take advantage of that and train your children on how to budget, how to look at money, because our relationship with money is what fuels us, either whether we're going to be a spender or we're going to be a saver. Now, there are positives and negatives to both sides of that. So don't get condemned thinking, oh, I really like to be in the store. Okay, you might like to be in the store, but you have to have a budget and you have to have some boundaries around that. But in starting out, you're going to start out with a goal in mind, because if you don't have a goal and you don't set goals, and I say SMART goals, and I'm thinking most people know what SMART goals are, but they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, They have to be attainable. They have to be realistic or relevant, and then time bound. So you have some boundaries around that. You set a goal and you say, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Whether it's saving for a bicycle if you're young, or saving for college, something of that sort. So you got the goal, and then you put the plan together in order to get there. That plan is going to be your budgeting, because that budget is going to also have your savings within it, so that you're then going to achieve your goal. Now, I will say this, and I'm trying to remember the year, but it was years ago, and I want to say it was Harvard University, where they looked at a group of students as they were getting ready to graduate from Harvard, and they asked them if they had goals in mind, and only about 5% had goals in mind. The rest didn't. Those that had the goals, that 5%, 85% of those achieved their goals, but the ones who didn't have a goal in mind, they didn't make it. So you've got to have a goal, but a goal without a plan is just a wish. So you've got to put both pieces together. And so that's 100%. What I would say. Set your goals, then put your budget together that's going to achieve that goal.
100%. A goal is extremely important. And to add to that, I always really focus on the why behind the goal. So once you list the goal and you, again, make sure that it's a smart goal, so it is measurable, it is attainable, really focus on why you are doing that, the security that it's going to provide you and your family later. Why are you saving for a down payment for a home? Why are you sacrificing so much today for a better future tomorrow? The security that it provides, the peace of mind, the dream of owning a home, and again, any other big goals that you have. I would say in addition to that, as starting out, somebody, let's say, fresh out of school, or even someone with a little extra time. For me, it's hustle, and a little bit more hustle. Start a side job. Let's, start earning a little extra income. Everyone has a passion or something that they enjoy. So I'm asking you all to think creatively, right? And start a side hustle that maybe you've been thinking about doing over the last 3 years, especially now with everything going on. If you like golf, become a golf caddy. If you love the arts, consider helping a small theater, and maybe you get to enjoy extra shows for free as well. If you're creative, let's start looking at selling items on Etsy or other online shops. If you love dogs, maybe consider doing pet sitting through Rover or other online sites, Facebook Marketplace, and a bunch of the other marketplaces. Let's start selling some of those items that you no longer need. But more importantly, anything that you do make sure that you're divvying it up. Have a goal in mind. Some you spend, and some you save.
Okay, see, you're going through my questions, because one of the questions on the list is that we received is, how do I create wealth? And I want to set up that question simply because we're going to talk about budget and how what Jorge just said regarding separating and divvying up those funds that you make. But I know that you cannot budget your way into wealth. So what is the best way, just going off of the question that the statements that Jorge just made, how do you create wealth? Closing out. We're going to start with Jorge, and then we're going to go to Dr. Shanta.
Yeah, I think creating wealth really starts, and I know that this is a boring answer, and I know that a lot of what we're going to really talk about today is going to be on mastering your cash flow, but it's so important. It starts with the fundamentals and the foundations of a personal financial plan, and it starts with the B word, budgeting, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's not fun. It's certainly not easy, but it must be done, because once you're able to master your cash flow and you're able to have a purpose for the dollar before you spend it, and you know exactly where it's going, whether that be towards savings or towards spending, then and only then could you focus on the next priorities. And of course, the next priorities are, well, number one, how much money do I have to save, and how much money do I have to spend? As a rule of thumb, I'm going to ask that, and I know this is difficult, but I'm going to ask that you consider doing about 10 to 15% of your income towards savings, minimum. And again, it can be tough. What was that?
Is that gross? Or
Sure. Yeah. Based on your gross income, well, I mean, it's tough because, of course, a lot of your gross income, you have the taxes that are going to be taken off, the Social Security. So whatever you have net, let's say, make sure that 10 to 15% of that is being saved. And of course, you could do that through your 401k, through investing. You could just put towards your emergency fund. But if you are able to do that, and if you're able to invest those funds or save those funds long term, the compounding interest can have a huge impact on your wealth and certainly on your future. Your future self will very much thank you.
Okay, Dr. Shanta?
Yes, I like that what you said, Jorge. One of the things that you mentioned earlier in the why behind your goals really leads us into the mindset issue. So when you ask the question, how do I accumulate wealth? We have to change our mindsets. In our communities, and I'm speaking specifically of more of the Black and Brown communities, we are consumers and not accumulators. Yeah. And our mindset is set that we're going to buy the latest thing that comes out. We're going to be the first ones to get it. And we've got to have this because I want to show others that, you know, I've achieved. And it's just a facade. Even with like what we see on Instagram or Facebook, we put our best foot forward, and that's really not the norm. I tell people, like, you know, and not against buying new rims, okay? I'm going to put that caveat out there. But you don't see the rims that you just paid all of that money for as you're driving down the street. So you're doing it for somebody else that probably could care less or really doesn't know you. So when we look at being able to accumulate wealth, one, I will say God gives us creativity. He designed each and every one of us uniquely. So whatever he has given you, you use it to the best of your ability, and you have a purpose behind it, and it's going to achieve. Yes, favor is not fair, but whatever favor you have, you use it. So like Jorge said, if you're creative and you want to put something on Etsy, you want to sell things in the marketplace, do that on the side. As well, so that you're accumulating. The other side of it that he said that I thought was extremely beneficial for everyone is, yes, you're going to have these buckets. I say you have 3 buckets. You give some, you save some, and you spend some. The giving, and we kind of talked about it before we started, in that giving to others, you're going to give 10% minimum. You're going to save 10% minimum. That means that you work off of 80%. And yes, the taxes are going to come out. That's another 20 there. So you live within your means. And I do believe, Erica, that you can become an automatic millionaire if you have that savings in place. You don't have to have a lot of money coming in, but if you're not spending everything that you're getting, then you're going to end up achieving and accumulating. And that compounded interest is going to take over, as well as if you're investing in stocks and things of that sort that are going to give you more interest than the simple 1% or 0.5% that you're getting at the bank. So there are different things that you can do, but it starts with your mindset. I am not going to always spend everything that I have coming in. I'm not going to live paycheck to paycheck, and I'm not going to trade hours for dollars. All of those things have to be taken out from the very beginning, and then you start building. And then once you get that gratification, you start saying, well, wait a minute, I need to leave a legacy for my children. And then you start going to that next level, and you won't fall back into it again. But that's kind of where we kind of come out of, you know.
Okay. We have 2 questions, like, but when you guys were speaking, we have like 2 questions that came in. Like, one, and I'm going to combine them together, is regarding like saving that 10 to 15% sounds great, but like the person was asking is that including, for example, I know Jorge said it before, like savings, 401k, but are you including like the kids' college savings? Is that included in the savings? And then while we master these principles of budgeting, what is the primary stream of income, especially if your job has been impacted by COVID? So it's a combination. So it's like, what all should I be saving for in that 10 to 15%? And how do I master these principles where I'm currently impacted by COVID, and so I'm not working as much? So,
well, I'll take okay, let me try to answer that question, because I think it's twofold, as you said. And first, if right now you're having a hard time, which again most Americans are,
Mhm.
It's difficult. And I am sorry that you're in that current state. But simply put, even though, yes, it is important to save, right now, you really have to be in survival mode. So let's take a step back. Here's the deal. There's only two expenses that you really should be concerned about right now, and that's food and medicine. Again, I understand if you're wanting to tackle everything at once, but food and medicine should be the only things that you should be concerned about. So try to put anything you can outside of that, of course, into savings so that you'll feel a little bit more secure. I'm urging everyone to start having a conversation with your lender, with your lenders, and start working with them. So call your credit cards, let them know where things stand. They should work with you. If you have a mortgage or if you're renting, simply speak with your landlord. Be proactive. The sooner you ask for help, the better it will be. And don't wait until it comes all at once. And please, please, please do not charge on those credit cards. Limit your spending and really focus on your cash flow. Now, more than ever, it's imperative that you focus on all of your expenses and make sure that every dollar has a name and a purpose. And again, what I mean by that, and I'm going to say this time and time again, you got to budget line by line. Give every dollar a name so you know where it's going before you spend it with purpose. And then after that, you could save a little bit more.
I was going to say that that's really good. I tell people, that are in this particular crisis now, and say you're not having money come in, or you're getting unemployment, and it might be less than what you were getting before. Jorge's right. You are more in a survival mode, but you have to have the thought process in mind that this is what my end goal is going to be when I come out of this. I tell them the 3 R's. You're going to renegotiate whatever bills that you currently have. And like you said, let them know ahead of time. See what you can do differently so that you're not paying all of that. You're going to reduce whatever you are spending. Don't assume that you can continue to do the same thing the same way, because we are in survival mode. We're not eating out as much. We're not driving. So you're saving money in some areas. And so take that into, I don't know why we're getting this polls, but okay. Take that into account, but you're going to reduce what you can. And then the third one is refinance. If you have a mortgage or you have something that you are out there, you're on the hook for, because when you signed up, you said you were going to pay this off. Well, yes, we're in a different mode. Go and ask them so that you can see if there's something else that you can do a little bit differently. Then within that dollar amount, you still are going to need to budget, regardless of whether we're in this strapped situation right now or not. You're going to need to budget what you have, and do the best that you can. If you are unable to save right now, and I understand that with the income coming in, but when we talk about an emergency fund, and I identify emergency fund as separate from your savings, and I think there's a stipulation or a statistic out there that says less than 40% of Americans have $1,000 in their savings account. One way you can get that emergency fund started, that $1,000, is if you've got stuff around the house, and many people have been cleaning and recognizing they have so much stuff that they don't want, they're not using, it's somebody else's treasure. It might be your trash. Sell it and start building that into your fund. And surprisingly, you will find that you can find $1,000 and you just didn't even know you had it. You were sitting on it. So this is the time to go ahead and put that into place. So you've got your savings, you're renegotiating, you're reducing, you're refinancing, all of that. You're now in a better position and you can breathe easier. What I noticed is that those who should have been looking at their finances before, it got magnified during this time of where we are. And yes, you should have done it before, but like we said, once you know to do better, you do better. So start now, and then as you come out of this, you will be in a better position. So I hope that helps.
And to add to that, I absolutely love the 3 R's. We have to face these negatives with hopefully a positive perspective. So here's a perfect scenario to Dr. Shanta's points with refinancing. Right now, interest rates are at the lowest levels we have seen in history. Okay? Lowest levels we've seen in histories. Now, savers are not happy with their monthly interest returns. Nationwide, I believe the savings accounts pay about 0.10%. So that means effectively you're earning about $1, just $1 for every $10,000 that you have saved. And that's only per year. So again, only $1 per year. Obviously, that's not good. However, on the flip side, because interest rates are so low, now is the time to consider refinancing on all of the loans that have higher interest. The largest expenses, for the most part, that every household has is either their mortgage or rent. So if you're a homeowner, my ask for all listeners here is that, as a rule of thumb, if you have maybe more than 4.25 on your loan, please consider looking into possible refinance opportunities. Lower rates at the end of the day means smaller payments, or simply paying off your loans faster. Again, interest rates are at near historic lows for many types of loans. You could focus on a mortgage, refinance on an auto loan, personal loans, or even student loans. These lower rates can lead to the lower monthly payment and, again, be able to put a little bit of extra cash flow back to your pocket. So definitely something to think about. I love those 3 R's.
Okay. We have another question in the chat. It says, are there any tools to help me budget?
Sure. There are plenty that are out there. Actually, on my website, there's a free one, and I believe Samantha, as she sends it out for those who have registered, you're going to get a little booklet that I put together. Within that is a budget. I also believe Jorge wants to show a budget, if you want to share your screen, just to give you an idea of the different categories that are in there, because it will go from income. It'll have the deductions that are going to be automatic coming out, including your health care and taxes and things of that sort. But then you've got fixed expenses and you've got variable expenses that go along with it as well. So those are the key items for budget. You can Google it, but there's some great ones that are available. There's some apps as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I know that one of the questions that was asked, or I'll just tie this into a particular subject that was mentioned, which is maybe interesting trends for 2020. And for me, I really think it's all about technology. So this budget that I'm showing you is just a simple budget plan, but there's other financial apps that can truly make our lives easier, or even with helping you organize or establishing just good financial money habits, because that's really what it's all about. Personally, I'm a big fan of apps such as Digit or Acorns. These apps connect to, let's say, your credit card or a debit card, and they round up your charges to the nearest dollar, and then they automatically deposit those into a savings or an investment account. And yeah, it's only 10 cents here and there, but it can quickly add up over time. Another one of my personal all-time favorites as far as budgeting goes is a website called You Need a Budget, or YNAB, and it really teaches users how to budget effectively and inspire them along the way. And I think that's really important, because one thing is to just do the budget and never look at it again. And another thing is to actively, continue to be inspired, especially because sometimes we may fall, and it's okay to do so, but you got to get up and get back on the grind. So again, for all the listeners out there, if you've ever asked yourself, wow, where did my money go this month? If that sounds like you, please consider something like this, or You Need a Budget, or again, any other trusted budgeting app out there, or an Excel spreadsheet, or think of any of the resources that Dr. Shanta just shared.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, Erica, too, everyone needs to look at it as a living document, because it does change. You've got those variable expenses. You've got different goals that come up. So once you put the budget, you don't just put it to the side and, pretend like it's okay, it's done. It's not. You're going to keep moving. Some people like the Excel spreadsheets, which we typically see. Some do the apps now, if they're liking the technology. And some people have a problem with both of those. So they elect to do the envelope method. So there are different methods that are out there that are available to help you. What you're basically doing is putting a boundary on where you're going to spend your money for each item. Right. And when you do that, then you're more in control. And we need the control, especially with all the uncertainty today. We definitely need the control.
Because I liked what both of you said regarding we have options, whether you want to do the Excel spreadsheet, which I do that. There are apps, I also do that. And I also do the envelope method. I do that because what ends up happening, particularly like with the envelope method, you realize when I have to give you $100, if I really, really want that, should I really be spending that much? So it pains me more. So whatever works for you, do that. But Jorge, we will add all of those websites that you gave to our resource list, and we're going to send that out. We have like tons of questions that are coming in the chat. So this question is thoughts on your return on investment on a PhD. The person's background is, I will be a retiring military officer, 24 years with 2 masters, BS from USF, go Bulls. But they want to know, they want to know, should they have their PhD? Should they go for their PhD? I don't know what the PhD is in, but like, what are your thoughts on that? Should they go spend that money to get that additional degree?
Well, for me, I think education is key. First and foremost, thank you so much for serving our country. And with that, you well deserved get lots of great benefits. I don't know if the PhD, if you could use your GI Bill for that. I'm not entirely too sure, but I'm sure that there's some sort of benefits that you may have serving our military that, again, are well deserved. Take advantage of those resources first. But I'm all in on education. So just make sure that you watch out for the cost. That's all I would ask. Just figure out that ROI, to your point, and see if it really makes sense. To Erica's point, I don't know what PhD you're referring to. If you're referring to polka history, I would probably tell you no. If you're, if it's maybe business PhD, then yeah, I guess I would just focus on the ROI on that.
Okay, Dr. Shawna, do you want to add anything else, or?
No, I'm glad Jorge mentioned it, that typically, yes, and of course, we're definitely thankful for your service. But they do have a lot of benefits, and if it is available, and I know many who are utilizing the opportunity to get to take classes and to get additional degrees, whether it's with the military, and then there are also some even under unemployment, things of that sort, that if your company is offering some courses that you can take to get additional education so that you can move forward outside of this is the time to do it if it is not going to cost you anything. If it is going to cost you something, then you want to look at those costs and see if it's within your budget. Again, we're back to that budget. If it's doable. And if it's a true goal that you have, or it's just something that you just want to do, just to say I got a PhD, then maybe this is not the time. But it's really, it's going to be an individual decision on that.
And one other thing I would like to add, Anthony, and I see here now your response that unfortunately you don't have any additional educational benefits since you've already used them all. Given the fact that this will come out of pocket, just listen to Dr. Shanta's advice. Let's just make sure that you are able to afford it. And if you are, and you see that there's a lot of great potential for additional income later, then my hope is that you would consider USF. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Okay, I have another question for you in the chat. It says, I just purchased my first home in 2008. I have heard a lot about refinancing that we just talked about. I do not want to restart my 30 years. Can you talk more about the refinancing option as it comes to my mortgage?
I'd like to hear Dr. Shanta's feedback on this as well. For me, I think, so reading the question here, it looks like you purchased the home in 2018, so 2 years ago. When you purchase a home, there's a lot of closing costs. And these closing costs can easily be $5,000, $10,000, right? This is in addition to what you're paying for the property. I hear you loud and clear. You don't want to restart another 30 years. I don't blame you. But here's the thing. If your current loan right now is 4.25 or higher, if it's even higher than that, let's say 4.5, 5%, I promise you, if you can refinance and get it, shaved by 1%, it doesn't matter if you go another 30 years, you will have less interest over that course of 30 years. Another thing to think about is maybe not even do another 30-year loan. How about doing a 20-year loan on the new refinance? And guess what? If the interest are much lower, which they are, your payments are actually the same.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you have the same payment, which you could afford before, but now you've shaved off completely an additional 8 years that you wouldn't have otherwise done. So please consider it if you have a high interest loan.
Okay,
Yes, I would say the same thing, Jorge. I was going to recommend reducing the number of years as well. Definitely talk to your lender. If it is, if you stay with the same lender, in many instances, they're not charging the refinance fees. So you end up coming out better if you can. The other thing that I like to tell some of my customers as well is, even on the loan side for your mortgage, one benefit that you can do is pay bi-monthly instead of just paying monthly. And if they don't offer it to set it up for you, you do it yourself. So what you would do is, on the 15th of the month, you would pay half of that amount that is due. And then on the 1st of the month, you pay the other half. What you're doing is you're reducing your interest, and you end up paying your loan off a lot sooner as well. But I'm with him. Definitely in the refinance area, go down to lower number, you know, and even maybe a 15-year mortgage. You can cut it in half, especially if that interest rate is a lot lower. You end up paying the same amount. If you then add on top of that you're paying it every 2 weeks instead of once a month, because your interest is being taken off and now your principal is lower, so they end up charging you less, you'll pay it off a lot sooner. And, you know, to be debt free and to have this financial freedom, like no mortgage whatsoever, you're living, the only thing you're paying for is utilities. That's where a lot of people want to get to, but they never thought that it was possible.
That's building wealth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you can pass that on and there's no bill whatsoever.
That's the way to do it.
Okay, I just wanted to say, for the person who asked the PhD question, Lisa Mifflin, I just called out Lisa. She's posted in the chat the PhDproject.org, where you can get additional resources. So we'll also add that to the resource list that'll be mailed out. But if you look in the chat, www.phdproject.org, that's in there for you. Another question, which payoff debt strategy do you recommend, avalanche or snowball?
So these two debt strategies are really one of the most famous. I think Dave Ramsey really made them famous. So for those that don't know, the avalanche method is one where you concentrate on the highest interest first. So let's assume that you have 5 credit cards, and all 4 of them have, or rather 4 of them have a 10% interest rate. And one of them, the 5th one, has a 25% interest rate. You would focus on paying that one off first. That makes sense mathematically, absolutely. If you pay that one off first, you're saving a lot of cash in your pocket. The snowball method, on the other hand, doesn't really care more about the interest. Instead, it focuses on the smallest balanced account that you have first. So let's assume that you have 5 credit cards. That 5th one that has the highest interest rate at, over 20%, let's assume that one has a balance of $10,000, while the other 4 have a few $100s, and that's it. With the snowball method, I would argue, for psychological purposes, it really helps you celebrate the wins, because you could tackle those first and make sure that as you tackle those and you zero them out, more importantly, you never use them again, or you make sure that they're always zeroed out. And then once you're able to pay off that amount, that minimum payment that you were used to making, you can now tackle the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And that's why it's called the snowball method. So to answer your question, Janine, I would tell you that mathematically speaking, and for more pocket back, or rather more money back in your pocket, the avalanche method is better. But to celebrate wins, I would argue you could use both of them at the same time. And by that, I mean, look at the snowball method for smaller balances, but for bigger balances, tackle them with, or rather vice versa. But I hope that that answered your question.
You want to add anything, Dr. Shanta?
I was going to say Jorge did a very good job in identifying that. One of the other things, though, to consider with, say, 5 credit cards, they each have a minimum balance. the more cards that you have, your total minimum outspend is a lot higher than if you only had 2 cards or had one where it was reduced into just one card to be able to pay off, and you'll end up paying it off a lot sooner. But yes, there is a website. I want to say I included it in my information, but if not, I'll tell you here. It's vertex42.com, I believe. They will actually let you put the information in. And you can do up to 10 credit card information, or whether it be loans, student loans, or mortgage, or what have you. You can put 10 items in, and it will then calculate it for you, or you can select which ones you want to pay off first. He's absolutely right from a psychological standpoint, you know, because people want to feel like they're accomplishing something.
Right.
That snowball method is the one that they start with. I owe $200 on this. I pay that $200 off. Now I got 4 cards. I feel so much better. But that $25 I was paying on that $200 card, I now take that extra the $25. I don't put it in savings, but I pay it onto that next card so that I get rid of my consumer debt a lot quicker. And so then I'm like, I'm free. You know, I'm down to 3 cards. Wow, you know, I'm really getting there. Well, that last one is going to be the hardest one, but now you've built up so much momentum, and that's why they call it a snowball, because you're building up the momentum. Now, instead of $25 to put on that second one, I might have had another 25. Now it's 50 that I'm putting down minimum. I'm paying that off. That next one might be $50. So now I'm putting 100 on that one, and I'm starting to really let it roll. And I see, and I feel, and I sense that I am now going to be free. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. Right. That's what happens with that.
Listening to both of you, I heard regarding the snowball and the avalanche, totally get it. My question to you that I did not hear either one of you say, once you pay off the lowest credit card, should you close it or leave it?
No. I'm going to say no. I don't know about Jorge. From a credit standpoint, in order to build credit, one of the key factors is the credit history. So the length of time that you have that credit card. You don't have to use it. You can cut it up. Just put it to the side, but then that history continues to build. And then on your credit score, it'll say, oh, you've got 14 years of history on it. Now, that's probably controversial, because I do know that one of my counterparts will tell you to, you know, close it out. But once you close that out, then you don't get the history to help you going forward. So I say leave it open, but cut it up.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, Dr. Shanta, 100%. I agree with you 100%. You never want to close out any of the credit cards, but you definitely don't want to use them if you are tempted. If you're going to go back to an old negative habit, please freeze it, cut it up. I don't care, but do not use it. Only for emergencies, okay? Not to fund a lifestyle. Now, if that's not a problem, if that's not a problem for you, if you're disciplined, then believe it or not, again, Dr. Shanta hit the nail on the head. By you closing it, that actually hurts your credit, and you don't want to hurt your credit. What I would ask listeners to understand is that a lot of these credit cards as well, some of them may have a fee. Let's say that you don't want to pay that fee any longer. Should you close it if you're not using it? I would, again, argue don't close it. Instead, consider converting it to a card that doesn't have a fee. And a lot of them allow you to do that. So again, if you don't want to pay that fee, just simply converting it to their portfolio of cards allows you to still keep that record history and again, not having to close it. The only other thing I would add, and that is you want to use it at least once a year. That's all honestly it takes. You use it once a year, maybe for a pack of gums, and you pay it off. As long as you do that, guess what? It acts like like you still have that record, and you get to keep your stellar credit report.
Okay, going along with that same thought, question is, my creditors are currently closing my accounts that I have not used in a while. Is that a negative impact on my credit?
Yeah, please use it. Again, it could be something small, just one item. Think about going to the grocery store right now and just simply use it, or the gas. As long as you're using it once, I would say just to be safe, maybe every 6 months, I promise you, you're not going to have any issues with any closures, because if they do close it, that will absolutely impact your score, and it will go down.
Dr. Shanta, anything to add?
Say mine, they haven't closed mine. I typically, and I'll just tell you from personal, what I do is I typically use 1 or 2 cards. I am a disciplined person when it comes to my credit. I don't need the plastic surgery, but some people do need the plastic surgery. I charge everything on this 1 card because they're giving me rewards and they're giving me percentages back. So basically I'm not paying the same amount. That's my interest, that's my income, and it pays it off from that standpoint. So at the end of the month, then I pay the entire balance. So I don't get any finance charges. I have not had, and I think it really depends on the company if they're going to try to close it for you. If it's they're closing it for no apparent reason or nothing that's negative for you, I'm not sure if it really is going to affect yours. But it does stay out there. I've got some that are still listed as open for over 14 years or 18 years, things of that sort. If it does make a blip a little bit for you on your credit score, I think you'll recover pretty quickly from that, as long as whatever you are using is going to continue to move forward. It's going to put you in a better light. So I think you'll be okay. But if you do find, ask them why and ask them what you need to do. Like Jorge said, if you need to just use that card once and pay it off immediately, then you're still okay. So I think that's an individual situation as well, to see what they really are trying to do. Most companies now, credit cards is a big business. You know, they made $2.6 billion back in, like 2010 kind of thing. And so that's why you're continually getting new credit cards every day, because they want you to spend on their credit cards because they're planning on getting the finance charges. So if you are an excellent consumer, you pay off your bills on a regular basis, they're going to try to get you to get their cards, but they really want you to mess up one day and be late so they can charge you $35 for a late fee.
Right.
I also, like Jorge says, I don't have credit cards that charge me an annual fee. To me, it's not worth it. I'm using the benefit, but that then goes back to the psychology of why you have a credit card. Are you doing it so that it's easier for you to track all of your spending? At the end of the year, you know exactly where you spent everything, but you paid it off and you didn't have any finance charges. If you're paying a finance charge or you're paying an annual fee for it, that's money that's coming out of your income. That's money that you're spending. If there's a way that you cannot do that, that's excellent. But I always tell people, and this is probably another one of your questions, Erica, automate as much as possible so that you are not going to pay any late fees on anything. That's going to help your credit score because they will see that you are a regular payer, that you're always on time, and your score is going to increase. So you need to make sure that you do both of those.
Love it. The one strategy that I use, and this is, again, I know that that this is going to come from very privileged, but if you can, and if you're disciplined about it, please consider this. Use your credit card as you would a debit card. So what I mean by that is, if you're making a big purchase today, try to pay it off tomorrow. Don't even wait. Don't even wait until the end of the period for next month. Just pay it off tomorrow. Use it like you would a debit card. Because remember, when you use a debit card, it's going to get out of your bank account right away. But why not use a credit card like that and reap the rewards? For those that know me, know that I am a huge credit card hacker. And I wouldn't normally tell you to do this, but if you're disciplined, there are ways where you could actually make money up on the credit cards. So definitely think about using it if you're disciplined, and more importantly, making sure that you never ever have any outstanding debt on that, because then it will just not be worth it. And by automating those payments, that's great. Take it a step further. Pay it off the next day if you can.
Going along with that, there's 2 questions. One is the importance of credit score. So I just wanted you guys to just slightly expound upon that, and it also in that tell people what is the range of their credit score, so they have that.
So I'll share that the best credit score as far as lending needs, all you need to have is over 760. Let me repeat that again. The range is low 400s all the way to 850.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you have 802, 761. You're still going to get the same rate. What I'm trying to get at is you just want to make sure that your credit is hopefully over 760 and that you're working on making sure that it's always over 760. Once you have that and you're wanting to borrow, whether it be on a mortgage, on an auto loan, you're always going to get that best rate. So I hope that answers the question. Of course, the lower that credit report is, the the more unfavorable the interest rate will be when you borrow. One of resources that I absolutely love for you to check out is called annualcreditreport.com. And this is a free online service, the only source federally that allows you to check your credit history. Now, unfortunately, it won't give you the actual number, but it's a report on all of the different accounts and everything that you have outstanding. It gives you a very good, clear picture of where you stand today. In addition to that, I would ask that you consider a website such as Credit Karma, Credit Sesame. I personally use Credit Karma, and even though there's three bureaus that look at your credit, Credit Karma, I believe, only looks at two. I believe it's Experian and TransUnion. Either way, it's a good idea of where you're at, and it basically keeps up where things should be. And as long as those two average over 760, that means that you have nothing to worry about. Just keep doing what you're doing, and only good things will come when you're trying to refinance and when you're trying to borrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say annual report, creditreport.com, they'll give it to you once a year, and they do give you the score. They used to give you the score as well. But what you want to do is make sure that there is nothing that's erroneous on your credit report, because sometimes they are going to have some errors there. And if it is an error, then you want to go ahead and call or send in a report to that particular agency. So you do have the TransUnion, you have Experian, and you have, what's the other one? Equifax. All three of them. And you can get all of those numbers. They're easily available, but definitely once a year. If you haven't gotten it in a while, go ahead and just order it. They will send it to you. You don't have to pay for it. And so that is the best thing to do.
Okay. Moving on, we have like a small business question. It's like, do you have any information on how to apply for small business loans to begin an additional income stream from a person's craft/talent? If you don't have, I have an answer. But.
Well, why don't you start, Erica, because you deal a lot with business owners.
Yeah.
One of the best resources, oh my gosh, that I would recommend is the Small Business Administration. Of course, my phone rings. And so the Small Business Administration is something that I would definitely recommend that you check out.
Here in Hillsborough County, also, you can check with the ECC, Entrepreneurial Collaborative Center. They have many people on staff that will assist you in doing loans, whether it's a business loan, just starting, or even putting together your business plan. So there's some excellent resources that are available. Now they're doing everything virtually these days, but you can still get it done. And we kind of lost Erica. Did you want to add something else? There she is.
She's in the background, just making sure all the noise stops. But for the small business loan, the Small Business Administration, which is in everyone's all over the United States, and you can contact the one in your county, whatever, you're in Hillsborough County, Palm Beach, you're in Virginia, they're there to help you. And if you go to SBA, I think .gov, you can go through and they will help walk you through to assign you a counselor based on your business. They'll help make sure that you are stable and that your business is stable, whether it's in its infancy state, where it's adolescence, or it's a mature business, and they'll help walk you through to make sure that you have all the things that you're needed before you're applying for a loan. The PPP, the Payroll Protection Act, is due June 30th. So if you have that, you can apply for that. There's so many grants that municipalities are having to restart companies. So reach out to your local municipality. So hopefully that helps. And if you have any other questions, just email us, and I'll share as much information that I have for you. But deadlines are approaching, so act quickly. Next question is, who do you think, what do you think about credit card balance transfers? Is it worth it to do a transfer to a no interest for 12 months type of a deal? So do you think that's a good deal or not?
Well, again, if you're disciplined, and as long as you know that you're not going to put yourself in a situation that you did in the past, then I'm all in 100%. But please don't use these to continue to, again, fund the lifestyle that you cannot afford. That's all I'm going to say about that. Of course, mathematically, yes, it makes sense. You're going from a 20+% interest, charging you an arm and a leg, versus 0% interest for 12 months. But if you could instead focus on paying that off in that 12-month period, then I am all in. Love that idea. Go for it.
Right. When you talk about transferring, you already have it that you owe it. One of the things that they do ask on the transfers in many instances, and you have to pay attention to, is they might charge you a 3% interest up front because you are getting that 0%. I tell people the systems are planned against us, but you've got to know what the systems are. Just like the 90-day same as cash, if you don't have that money up front, don't plan that you're going to have it in 90 days. So if you are getting a 0% interest for 12 months, plan that you're going to pay it off within 10. So if you can make that payment every single month for that 10-month time period, then do it so that you know you're going to be out of debt and it'll be clear. If not, what they're going to do, like with the 90-day same as cash, the interest that they would have charged you on day one now all rolls on to the end. So if you didn't pay it off on day 89, now you've got an extra amount. So, you know, it sounds good, and people tend to think, oh, well, yeah, I got plenty of time to get it done. But if you don't have a plan for it, it won't get done, and that's how they catch you.
Okay. The next question is regarding still financing, but it's from a spiritual perspective.
Okay.
Tips for maintaining spiritual health while consuming spiritual support online, since we're not able to gather in groups or attend church. So it's like, how do you still make that connection, gather together, and still keep your spiritual health?
Okay, that one's all spiritual. One of the things that we have to recognize in the Black and Brown communities is when we look at our spirituality, it's all based on community. So when we started disbanding, it hurt us because that's what we were used to. However, you can still maintain your spiritual health. There are plenty of churches that are doing live stream. They're doing Facebook Lives. You can still meet with them. It's just in a different setting, just like we're doing here on Zoom. You get a chance to see them. You just don't get to touch them. So do you get that information that you're needing? Yes. Do you get the encouragement that you're needing? Yes, absolutely. I know I get a chance to work with one of the hospitals here locally, and we cannot go in. And we haven't been able to go in to offer their spiritual encouragement. So I ended up doing a YouTube channel, a separate playlist, specifically for them that's called Encouragement in a Bottle. That way, I'm giving them the message that I would bring to them, but I can't physically touch them. So you can still get what you need. There are plenty out there. I mean, I've been overdosing on being spiritually fed. And some of my friends have been the same way. They were like, normally I could only go to one service. Now I don't have, it doesn't matter where they're located. I can go through and get 4 or 5 a day and feel, you know, even better. And whenever I get tired of listening, I can stop, you know, and so I can OD on it right now. We definitely need it. We're in that time. One of the benefits that I think of this coronavirus is that we had an opportunity to reprioritize. Right. Just like we're reprioritizing our finances, and we get a chance to, you know, reset everything and streamline what needs to be streamlined, eliminate and automate all of that. The same thing that we can do on the spiritual side. It gave us an opportunity to say, oh, we didn't put God first. We got so busy in our lives that we forgot that this was an all important piece. I said at the beginning, God created each and every one of us individually, and he has gifted us in many different areas. Sometimes we've forgotten about our purpose. We've forgotten about those favorite things that he has thrown into our life. We should be grateful for what we do have, but this is an opportunity to sit back and say, wow, what a blessing it is. Now, can I listen to different people? Yes. And this person is going to give me something else that's encouraging my soul. This other person is going to help me with something else. But then at the same time, I have the opportunity to be there with my family as well. And I can sit back and say, wow, I am truly grateful for what I do have. So this is not an opportunity to say, I didn't get what I needed. This is really an opportunity for us to feast on the spiritual encouragement that we have been lacking because we've been so busy and we've been putting other things in front of. So I look forward to it. I really think a lot of people have grown during this time period.
Yeah, and to add to that, during the break from Standard Live during the coronavirus pandemic, many of us have really realized that we have acted in the pre-coronavirus time, did not necessarily maximize our happiness. And for me, it's something as simple as realizing that I can cook up a simple dish or make a delicious cup of coffee and enjoy it more than, Dunkin' Donuts. And before Starbucks fans start, writing in the comment, I enjoy Starbucks too. So I'll just put that out there. But again, taking the things that you now realize that you were used to spending your money on, but maybe didn't give you that much joy in life, such as eating out regularly, or again, maybe moving forward, making sure not going back to those old spending habits. Another important thing that, my family and I will try to proactively do is to contribute more to the community by focusing on buying local if we can.
Okay. Liking the fact that Jorge is cooking. We need to go over there.
Well, hey, simple dishes. I'm not, my wife's like, what are you talking about? She's probably, if she's here, hopefully she doesn't say anything.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're going to give you guys 1 minute each. And so the last question is, what one spiritual principle can you tie to your financial principle? And so we're going to start with Dr. Shanta and then Jorge.
Wow, a spiritual principle to tie to your financial. There are two sides of it. One side says that we are going to count the cost as we go in to whatever project it is. So we're putting God first. We're making sure that we understand what his word says and what he is asking us to do. We're recognizing how important all of our family members are. So I say add grace and gratitude, which I said before, that we're patient with others, but we're also realizing that I'm grateful for what I do have. So when it comes to the spiritual side of it, as well as the financial side of it, he created us in a certain way. We need to work with our budget in that manner as well. And that's one of the things that I do is I match the two. Whether you're the spender or the saver, there are positives to both sides, but at the same time, know that God created you in a certain way, operate within that unique gift, and plan your budget accordingly.
Okay, Jorge, 1 minute.
Yeah, for me, I went ahead and shared my screen, so I hope you can see that. For me, it's all about having a holistic financial plan. Mm-hmm. And that's just, when I say holistic, it's something that is beyond money and finance. Okay, this has to be really all about your goals, your values, and your experience with money. And understanding that once doing so, you can then focus on building the positive behaviors and habits and ultimately towards your financial health. With a holistic financial plan as an advisor, again, I'm not just focused on investments. It's truly a top-down approach where we plan for all aspects of your life and what matters to you and is important to you and your family. So that's true financial planning. And I think it's important for times like these to help you with the insecurities when the markets have been so volatile and the economy shrinks. And really, because it's important to have an organized plan in order to continue your goals. whether that be a comfortable retirement, debt management, starting a business, you name it, holistic financial planning is the way to go.
Very good. I wanted to thank both of you because time is now up. I want to thank you both very much. But before I forget, for the people who are watching the rebroadcast and people here, we are having a wrap-up session on Thursday, July the 2nd at noon, where everyone is in breakout room. So all 6 of our panelists are coming back. And so instead of us having a moderator, myself, Tina, Luz, or Melissa, you get to ask the questions directly to the panelists. So make sure you sign up, and those who've already signed up for the series will add you to the wrap-up session, but tell your friends, but you get to ask these questions directly from a financial and spiritual health, mental and emotional health, access to healthcare, and nutrition. So see you next Thursday, July the 2nd at noon. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Dr. Shanta. And my name is Erica Daly. Thank you guys again. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Go Bulls.